The road to hell is paved with good intentions. This idiom has become quite befitting of Lanolin, a character who has good intentions, but the outcome of her actions has been, well, less than favorable in the eyes of many readers. Since becoming a staple in Sonic's cast of friends, Lanolin has enthralled many by proving her leadership capabilities and her willingness to sacrifice for others. And early on, her addition to the main cast in the comics was met with warm reception. However, the tides have seemingly changed, and Lanolin has now become a character that many find to be divisive. Today, I want to explore the character of Lanolin and dig into why there's been such a rapid switch in fan reception to this character. But before we do, subscribe if you want more Sonic lore and news. And with that out of the way, let's begin. There are many aspects to Lanolin which make her an interesting character, and I believe that above all else, what truly defines this character is her hard work, determination, and no-nonsense attitude, the latter of which will be very important later on. The first time Lanolin would make an appearance in the comics, her hometown Riverside was under siege from remnants of Eggman's forces. Luckily for her, Sonic and Amy were nearby, and managed to help defend the town alongside some of the local militia. This event would stick with Lanolin for the rest of her life. Having feared for her life and seeing the devastation of war firsthand, Lanolin felt helpless and unprepared. Had Sonic and Amy not been there that day, there's no telling what would have happened to the denizens of Riverside. Due to this, Lanolin came to the sudden realization that nothing in life is guaranteed. Life can flip upside down in an instant, so instead of lingering in a state of worry after this traumatic event, Lanolin would instead see this as her calling in life. Wanting to make sure that no one would have to feel helpless or unprepared in the face of adversity, much like she did, Lanolin devoted herself to higher education, training both her mind and body, in hopes that one day she could help make the world a safer place, just like Sonic and Amy, who saved her town. With this newfound purpose instilled in her, Lanolin would search for an opportunity to utilize her knowledge and altruism. As fate would have it, Amy Rose would soon establish the Restoration, a coalition who seeks to rebuild the world from the rubble of war and maintain peace and order. Recognizing that the goals of the Restoration align closely with her own values, Lanolin is quick to become one of the first members, showing just how willing she is to make a positive change in the world. Early on in our introduction to this character, it's evident that Lanolin is someone who wants to do what's right by helping those in need. Inspired by what she witnessed firsthand from both Sonic and Amy, Lanolin knows that standing against tyranny will always be something that she stands for. Bringing about positive change in the world takes hard work and dedication, which Lanolin has proved she's willing to put in. While a lot of her early progression as a hero is done in the background of larger stories after joining the Restoration, it's evident that she's been gaining knowledge working alongside heroes who have much more experience than her. It's hard to not root for a character like Lanolin, at least initially. There's something relatable in the foundation of her character. She reflects the human nature of being inspired to achieve something greater with your life. Lanolin also demonstrates the virtue of selfless acts. Being selfish in life is easy, but being selfless is a lot more difficult, and Lanolin is always willing to help others. Tired of the Restoration sitting back and waiting to help after devastation strikes, Lanolin proposes an idea to Jewel. Instead of solely being focused on humanitarian efforts, she wants to expand the Restoration, adding a task force that's a bit more on the militaristic side. She suggests that being able to preemptively strike any threat they detect would be so much more beneficial to them. This idea is well received by her peers, and it gives us some insight on who Lanolin is as a character. She isn't one to just sit back and wait for things to happen. Instead, she proves herself to be very proactive. From this, we also see that she isn't afraid to voice her opinion on sensitive matters. Through all the hard work she's put in since initially meeting Sonic, Lanolin has become unapologetically genuine. Now, this personality type can lead to conflict, but it's also very important for a leader to have these qualities. With the likes of Tangle and Whisper already agreeing to join this task force, Lanolin is wise enough to know that she's going to need someone on the team with experience that far outweighs her own. Because of that, Sonic is asked to come aboard to help scout out Eggman's base, as his expertise will be invaluable. Sonic agrees to join, and Lanolin mentions that she's been looking forward to working with him. Funnily enough, Sonic can't remember ever meeting Lanolin. Their last meeting was so brief that Lanolin had to recount the events at Riverside, which inspired her to do more to help others, eventually leading to her joining the Restoration. Arriving at the outskirts of Eggperial City, Lanolin and Whisper begin to scout the base from a distance, but catching the both of them off guard, Sonic and Tangle impatiently rush in, looking for a fight. You can tell from the reaction of both Lanolin and Whisper that they're upset. This was meant to be a covert mission, and rushing in head-on gave away their element of surprise. While both Sonic and Tangle are elite fighters and have dealt with Eggman and his forces before, it doesn't mean that they're invulnerable. This careless display of bravery could have led to disastrous results, and it's something that Lanolin is quick to call out. While in the thick of battle, being much slower than Sonic, Tangle finds herself in danger, but luckily for her, Lanolin and Whisper arrive just in the nick of time. Lanolin manages to prevent herself from lashing out at the two of them, but her frustration is visible. Unlike Sonic and Tangle, Lanolin likes to adhere to rules and stick to plans, so seeing her two allies rush in so carelessly really caught her off guard, and it put not only their lives in danger, but the entire unit's. While annoyed, Lanolin seems to move past this issue pretty quick since the threat was taken care of in the end. Taking a moment to gather themselves, Lanolin takes the opportunity to survey the city again. Together, she and Sonic discover that Eggperial City is not only growing, but it seems to be healing itself. This interaction between her and Sonic is one that shows off her cunning. She isn't quick to jump to conclusions, but speculates about how Eggman is achieving this result. We also see that Lanolin is a good listener, taking into account information that both Tangle and Sonic give her, and this speaks to her calm demeanor. It would be easy for Lanolin to come off hot-headed in this moment and not listen to the two that previously almost ruined the mission. However, here she really starts to naturally come into the leadership role, this time telling her team to do things cautiously. Descending below into the mines of Eggperial City, the Diamond Cutters explore mechanical corridors and vast caverns, until finally reaching the conclusion that Eggman has stripped everything below the city. Knowing that there is little time left to stop Eggman in this growing city, Lanolin proposes that they make a retreat and gather everyone from the Restoration in order to march on the city in a full-scale assault. Sonic is of a different mindset, believing that time is of the essence, and this group is more than capable of stopping Eggman's plans. Lanolin argues that this team is far too untested for a mission of this scope, but she does realize that Sonic is correct about time being of the essence. Lanolin isn't one to back down from her beliefs so easily, and we see here that she knows how experienced and powerful Sonic is, but even with him on her team, she wants to make the safe call to get reinforcements. It's interesting to see these two different mindsets clash, but unfortunately, we don't get to see the result of this discussion, as our heroes are ambushed, resulting in Tangle, Whisper, and Lanolin being separated from Sonic. Trapped in a parallel dimension where no one can see or hear them, Lanolin, Tangle, and Whisper all have different reactions to this predicament that they find themselves in. Tangle is visibly frustrated, voicing her anger to the others, but Lanolin isn't really listening. She seems defeated. Her posture is of someone who's depressed and ashamed, with her head collapsed into her knees. Tangle goes up to Lanolin, asking about the plan, but this just seems to make her sink deeper into her self-doubt, as she replies that she doesn't think she's cut out for this. Her reply here is important because, as she says, she doesn't think she's cut out for this. Not that she isn't cut out for this or knows she isn't, she just doesn't think it. Our minds are powerful, and the state that our mind is in can really shape us. From all of Lanolin's experience in the field, she is cut out for this, but that little bit of self-doubt that has crept into her mind is obstructing her from her rational thinking. Lanolin says that this whole mission is her fault. Now, bearing the responsibility of this hiccup alone is admirable, but life is filled with the unexpected, and sometimes you have to face it with an understanding that life won't always go your way, regardless of how prepared you are. Luckily for Lanolin, Tangle gives her some words of encouragement, telling her that everyone makes mistakes. It reminds me of a quote from Rocky that stuck with me.
Me or nobody is gonna hit as hard as life, but it ain't about how hard you hit. It's about how hard you can get hit and keep moving forward.
During their time in this parallel dimension, Whisper too begins to share some of her issues with her new teammates, telling both Tangle and Lanolin that because of her past trauma with a bad teammate, she would appreciate it if they showed her some patience. Lanolin agrees as long as the others are patient with her being inexperienced and bossy. Up till this point, no one has called out Lanolin for being bossy, but it's something she clearly conceives herself as being. Lanolin is clearly still insecure in herself. She worries about how others perceive her, thinking that she comes across bossy and inexperienced despite others not seeing her in that light. With their problems dealt with for the moment, the girls come together, seemingly stronger than before. With newfound faith instilled in herself thanks to her team, Lanolin comes up with a plan to help Sonic and the others. Following through with Lanolin's plan, the Diamond Cutters would infiltrate Eggman's base completely unseen due to being in a parallel dimension. While inside the base, Whisper catches sight of the shadow androids that Eggman is sending into battle. This ends up sending her into a state of PTSD, as these are the same abominations that killed her old team. Lanolin and Tangle would try to comfort their friend to the best of their ability. This goes to show that despite Lanolin viewing herself as bossy and stern, she is empathetic and truly cares about those around her. This would only be exemplified a few moments later, as Eggman encounters the trio. Using his new spatial displacement trap, he captured Whisper, and would have captured Tangle had Lanolin not pushed her out of the way, sacrificing herself. This selfless act once again proves that Lanolin is capable of being a great leader, as she was willing to make the ultimate sacrifice for those under her command. Fortunately for her, not too long later with some help from Tails, Eggperial City's computer systems would be taken offline, freeing Whisper and Lanolin, both of which managed to help Sonic and his friends with the destruction of Eggperial City. With their first official mission as a team under their belt, Lanolin reflects on how close they were to failing. This troubles her mind. The results of their last mission were almost disastrous. Lanolin thinks that diversifying their team would help, as it would allow for more skill sets and ideas. It's clear that this last mission really put Lanolin on edge and has probably been keeping her up at night. There are bags under her eyes, she's drinking coffee, and coming off quite irritable with Tangle, who is highly energetic. A knock on the door would halt the Diamond Cutters' discussion as a new face entered the room. He introduces himself as Duo and tells the others he wants to help make a difference in the community. In light of all things, this brings a smile to Lanolin's face. It seems like the answer to her prayers just so happened to arrive at her doorstep. Not only is this someone who would diversify the squad's skill sets, but it appears that Duo wants to make a positive change in the world, just like Lanolin when she started out. Lanolin would regain her proper composure and begin to interview Duo, asking about his skill set. When Duo replied that his only skills are with a computer and that he did use a Wispin during the Eggman War, Lanolin becomes a bit more withdrawn from the idea of including this new member. However, with some input from both Tangle and Whisper, Lanolin allows Duo to join their ranks, however with some proper training first. Unbeknownst to anyone in the Restoration, Duo is actually Mimic in disguise. Working for Clutch, he's looking to undermine the Restoration and seek revenge on Tangle and Whisper. The next day, Lanolin takes the Diamond Cutters out to Green Hill in order to regreen the area, as well as work on team coordination. Having felt like he isn't really doing enough, Tangle and Whisper invited Silver to join them in the Diamond Cutters, which really seemed to brighten his mood. However, this late addition to the team threw a wrench in Duo's plan, now raising Silver on his list of concerns. Throughout the training, Duo would do his best to make Silver look bad and drive a wedge between him and the other Diamond Cutters. This would come to a boiling point where Duo would try to leave Silver for dead, but Silver isn't one to go down so easily, and now he's privy to Duo and his tricks. Angered from Duo screwing with him the entire day, Silver calls him out in front of everyone. Duo plays to the sympathy of Lanolin, as she understands what it's like to be a rookie and make a mistake. Lanolin feels that she's protecting the newbie, but us the readers, having seen things from Silver's perspective, know the full story. Lanolin's words hurt Silver, leading him to isolate himself as he ponders about the events that led to this. This event here is where a lot of people begin to take issue with Lanolin. They feel that she should have trusted Silver. While from a story perspective these people are right, we have to understand that she saw none of what happened. I find it odd that people want to villainize someone for being deceived. There is irony that, trust me, isn't being lost on me that Lanolin is having the wool pulled over her eyes. But the whole point of this is that Mimic is doing what he does best, fooling people and turning them on each other. Falling for the deception doesn't make you evil. It might make you a fool, but not evil, and I do find it odd that so much anger is being felt towards this character. Something I think about is that it's like playing a game of Deceit or Among Us. Sometimes you have so much faith in your friends while playing these games, and they sell you on the most elaborate stories of why you can trust them, so you defend them to the bitter end and unknowingly help the killer. It doesn't mean that you are bad, but you did play into their hands. Things would only get worse for Lanolin as Silver and Whisper conspired to stop Duo, who they correctly assumed was Mimic in disguise. This plan of theirs would come to a head when Lanolin confronted them during their attempt to stop Mimic for good. Without any definitive proof of what the two of them were accusing Duo of, Lanolin didn't want this vigilante mission to go any further. As to Lanolin, this was blatant harassment of a teammate. Things would soon turn violent though, as Whisper would try to attack Duo regardless, being thrown to the ground by Lanolin, who would tell her that they are soldiers and she needs to act like one. Here Lanolin is displaying her stern leadership, having a mindset that Duo should be treated as innocent until proven guilty. It's apparent that Lanolin didn't want things to go this far, but felt that her hand was forced with how Silver and Whisper were acting. During this scuffle, Silver would chase after Duo, who put on an award-worthy performance as he acted scared and hurt as Silver slammed him on the ground. Silver was hoping that at some point during this Duo would transform into Mimic, but this would be the last straw for Lanolin. With her superior Jewel asking what was going on and who started this, Lanolin saw it necessary that Silver separate from the Diamond Cutters, at least for the time being. This of course led to fans being furious over the treatment of Silver. How could she betray him like that, leaving him at one of the lowest points we've ever seen him in his life, which you can see in a video that I covered here. But were Lanolin's actions unjust? I do believe that Lanolin's isolation of Silver had good intentions behind it. She most likely wanted tensions to cool down, like a mother separating two bickering siblings. However, it's very possible that she could have gone about this in a way that didn't villainize Silver. Lanolin is still very much learning how to be a good leader. She's shown that she's willing to throw her life on the line for others and proven herself a great strategist who also listens to others. But this doesn't mean she's without her flaws. She can be very stern, even when it's against her better judgment. She also seems to be very trusting. Taking Duo at his word, she really believes that he is like her, someone who just wants to help others but doesn't know where to begin. The odd thing to me is that while a lot of fans appreciate Silver and the flaws that he's trying to overcome, Lanolin is met with disdain for her flaws. In life, we all make mistakes, but it's how we learn from those mistakes and grow that really matters. So for me, it'll be interesting to see how Lanolin reacts once Duo is outed as Mimic. Regardless of how I feel about the character of Lanolin, I think her addition to the comics is a great one. A character that is a hero that can stir up this much emotion and controversy in people means that the writing is pretty effective. I think that her flaws only further the narrative because unlike a lot of characters in the IDW comics, she is very obstinate. But with all of that being said, I would love to hear your thoughts on Lanolin, who I believe is the most divisive character in Sonic. So let me know down in the comments what you like or dislike about her. If you liked this video and you want to see more, check out the video here for more Sonic lore and news. Don't forget you can get more Sonic discussions with me and Ranny over on Spotify at the Speed of Sound podcast. As always, I wish you all the best. Take care. Peace.
Eggman can't catch us now. We'll beat him somehow.